Hello everyone. Hope I'm audible to everybody. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Motadata. My name is Muskan Sayed and I'm handling channel marketing and I will be your host for this session today. Thank you for taking the time to join us from different parts of the world. Today, we will focus on how enterprise can move from fragmented monitoring to unified observability approach that delivers real-time clarity and AI-driven decision-making across modern IT environment. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Kirtan Zala, the product manager from Motadata. Kirtan has been closely involved in shaping Motadata's observability strategy and works directly with customers and partners to align product capabilities with real operational challenges. He will walk you through the problem landscape, our unified observability vision, and what's new in the platform. Before we begin, I just wanted to give you a quick note that please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A panel only. We are not addressing any question during the session. We will address all the question in the Q&A session only. Kirtan, you can start. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Muskan. Hope I am audible.
Yes, Kirtan, you are perfectly audible.
Great. So, welcome all. Thank you so much for joining us today. Right, it's been a pleasure for me to having a discussion on such a wonderful topic, right, which is very near and dear to my heart, right? Because as we belongs to this specific domain, we all have this expertise and experience in this specific domain since very long time, and we are constantly trying to evolve in this specific field. So this is going to be the very interesting discussion for all of us. uh, if you have any question and queries in between, as Muskan has mentioned, please drop it into Q&A, right? We will address those in a later part of the webinar. So today we have, kept the entire discussion around shifting the our entire focus from chaos to clarity, and that's where our unified observability journey begins, right? So during the next 1 year, we will explore that how IT teams are overwhelmed by the complexity and noise which is being currently generated during your hybrid infrastructure stacks. At the same time, how their environment has become so much chaotic, complex to manage with so many tools, so many alerts, right? And not having the proper insights. At the same time, we will discuss the Motadata's vision, right? How we are aligned ourselves to solve those IT chaos with the clarity and the AI at the core. At the same time, we will discuss the key pain points being faced by many teams, right, and how we can address those respective pain points with the help of matured observability platform. And as an outcome of it, we can cut the noise, right? At the same time, focus more on the signals. So when we say that we are entering into this world of observability, right? Our motto behind this is to have the less noise, more signal, and all powered by AI. And that's where we are unifying the data, applying the intelligence so that you can see everything which is happening behind your IT stack. You can understand your issues in a much more faster way. You can operate your environment with the confidence and even at the massive scale. So that's where we will take you through this journey to have the fragmentation to focus and at the same time from the chaos to clarity. So moving ahead, right? I think you all guys can relate with this image, right? This is the real world scenario, and we can't keep ourselves out of this because this is the real scenario where any enterprise is being mapped with the multiple monitoring tools at the same time, looking at the multiple dashboards, not having the proper signals, and at the same time being stuck onto the alert fatigue, not resolving the actual issue, and firefighting between the internal teams. Now, let us take 2 steps back and try to understand how this scenario has happened. Right? So, during the last 10 years, the world has moved from on prem to cloud. And if we will look at the current scenario, right, 98% of organizations have already adopted the cloud or they are transitioning towards the cloud. or they have the specific plans to move towards the cloud. Now, this percentage is very massive, right? Because when we will discuss the scenario 10 to 15 years back, right, our entire infra was residing within the data center that we have in the on-prem. But now our data are being kept into multiple data centers, whether it is in the private cloud or the public cloud, also across the multiple different public clouds. So this has introduced this so much complexity into the environment that we are operating. And once the Gartner has run their studies, right, they identified that 78% of IT professionals are currently in that state that they are saying that their network and system has become more complex and which has resulted into visibility gaps. Now, this is the biggest problem because when we say there is a visibility gap, we can't figure out that how to address those kind of challenges. At the same time, each and every organization are currently focusing and has to admit that with the diverse set of resources being operational in the different cloud, network being managed within the on-prem with the SDN and SD-WAN solution or being monitored and managed in the cloud, this has resulted into the more reactive approach towards the monitoring. Now, here we will spend couple of seconds and we will try to understand because when we say 84% of team across the enterprises have identified and reported that with the introduction of cloud native approach within their infrastructure, their entire management, their monitoring, at the same time, resource management has become more reactive, more prone to failures, and a small being not realized by the ROI that they are having with their investment in their existing tools. Now, this is very crucial because when we say the teams are not being proactive, right? They are constantly firefighting in their incident management tools. They are constantly reactive in terms of identifying the issues because those issues are now being reported by the end users and they can't have the full and final control within their IT infrastructure stack. Now let us deep more into this and try to understand that how this entire scenario has come across. If we take the enterprise journey, right, they have started with the basic networking. Then once they have started growing, they have introduced some sort of servers, then virtualization, right? Now, once they grow more, right, they have bifurcated themselves into the multiple geographies. This has been introduced with the SD and SD-WAN kind of solutions. Now their once customer base has become global, they have introduced themselves to cloud, and now which has resulted into more complex environment. Now, if we look at the overall picture, average enterprises are using 10 separate different monitoring tools. One could be for the network, one could be for the server, another could be for the virtualization databases, and altogether a different tool for the real user monitoring. Now, this number will get worse when we say that 10 out 4 out of 10 organizations are using more than 11 tools. Now look at the number of alerts these tools are generating, right? And which has resulted into 58% slower incident resolution because of the fragmented tools. Because currently your monitoring and telemetry data are residing within the different tools. One could be for the network, one could be for the cloud, and third one could be for the real users. Now, once your data are in the silos, you don't have that specific visibility that how to correlate all those different aspects in pieces together, and at the same time having the single source of truth within your organizations. Now, once you have this kind of environment, right? The research says that 30 to 40% alerts which are currently getting generated in your tools are false positive or repetitive because same stake is being monitored by different tools or in the different way. So these has resulted into three different main major problems, right? First one is the data silos, alert tsunami, and then alert fatigue. And the biggest question when we are living in the world of AI, how to overcome this? And the answer to that specific question is our shift to observability. Now, the moment we say that we are shifting from reactive approach to proactive, we are shifting ourselves from monitoring to observability, how the things will get changed, right? The moment we say monitoring, it's about tracking a predefined set of metrics and logs, which is currently raising the flags when something goes outside the expected bounds. Or rather, I would correct myself, predefined bounds. But the moment we say we will be introduced with the observability, right? We are about to have the data which has the context. And now we can ask why it is happening. Because when we were with the monitoring, right, we were only be able to ask that what is happening. But with the introduction of observability, now we can ask ourselves why it is happening and going further, what else is happening. Now, this is a bigger shift, right? Because the moment you look at these questions, our shift has forwarded towards the reactive to more proactive approach. So now we are discussing about the beyond monitoring, how we can shift ourselves from those traditional threshold based monitoring to more proactive and AI native monitoring. At the same time, we will shift our focus from what to why and towards the proactive intelligence. And these are the proven numbers where organization which has adopted the formal observability strategy are more likely to have 3.5x time detect the incidents more quickly. Now, with the introduction of observability, you can spot your anomalies or pattern before they turn into outages, right? And this has led many organizations started realizing this value. Now, the moment we say we are shifting ourselves from monitoring to observability, the shift will become in our processes as well, right? Because monitoring was more towards the reactive approach, right? We were just doing the lift and shift, installing the monitoring tools, right? And just starting flowing the alerts. But when we say observability, observability is not a tool. Observability is your org-wide strategy, which you needs to adopt to ensure that you realize the end-to-end ROI with the investment that you are making. Now, let us try to break down this observability and try to understand and correlate with its fundamental pillars because this is very essential to understand that why we are making this shift and what are the gains that we will be having with the introduction of observability. So this is very crucial because now we will have the three fundamental pillars when approaching the observability. These are the metrics, logs, and traces. So metrics are the numbers that measures your system's performance and behavior. Think of these metrics as it could be your CPU load, it could be your memory usage, request throughput, error count, response latency. So these are the metrics which you are constantly monitoring across your infrastructure stack. Now, once you have visibility across these metrics, you will be able to answer what is happening. But now we will shift ourselves towards the second pillar of observability, which is the logs. Now, logs are the detailed event records, right? And every single log signifies the respective entries with the recorded timestamp. So these will help us to have the detailed story or a diary of what the system is currently doing. Now, this is very essential because once you have the audit trail of everything, you can run your analytics based on the parsing capabilities that you have. So, the second pillar of observability, which is a log, brings the more contextual insight from your reactive approaches, what is happening to why it is happening. And very third and important aspect is the traces. Traces tries to tie everything together across your distributed systems. It's like your journey map. You can visualize that how the user has entered into your system, how it has traversed towards the different distributed services, how those respective services are making the background database calls, and how those databases are responding to those queries. Is there any specific latency in between? Is there any specific exception in between? Is there any specific errors which leads you to the you know fragmented as well as the frustrated user experience? So while combining all these three pillars together, whether it is your metrics, logs, and traces, you will have the complete unified 360-degree view where you will have that visibility, what is happening, why it is happening, and what else is happening. Now this is massive shift because now entire focus is towards the fixing something which you have proactively identified and preventing such kind of occurrences in the future. Now the moment we say we will introduce ourselves to these three different pillars of observability, one of the key trending topic of today, AI, will put a massive role into this, right? Because AI helps you to correlate all those telemetries that we are ingesting. It helps us to reduce the alert fatigue because it has that specific visibility that how those different telemetries are correlated. As I have previously mentioned, we are now shifting ourselves from threshold based monitoring, which user has to do on a manual basis, towards the more dynamic approach toward the alerting, where system on of behalf of the users or the humans try to understand the patterns, try to set the dynamic thresholds, and try to notify if something really false has happened to your system. By combining this pattern correlation at the same time anomaly detection, one can easily achieve the root cause analysis, right? Which is very essential when there are multiple storm of alerts. It is very essential for any specific IT admin to, as soon as possible, identify the root cause. And once you will combine all these, you will have that visibility into the clarity based outcome. Now, this is very essential, right? Because once you don't have any clarity into the existing investment that you are making, your entire discussion with the CXO table will become more complex. And I always prefer to correlate these things in such a way that whenever you are approaching any sort of observability tool, the first and foremost question that you should ask that whether this observability platform will able to help me achieve my OKRs, because whenever you are discussing such kind of things with the customer, the biggest change that they are seeing from shifting from monitoring to observability, that how this new world will help me to reduce my mundane activity and focus more on the proactive as well as the productive approach. So, with the introduction of these, right, by 2026, 90% of large enterprises will start having the AI driven observability, and they will focus more on the proactive anomaly detection. And that's where Motadata helps you to have you this handholding during this journey towards the unified observability. Because when we were discussing this thing, right, let us try to flip the script. Initially, we were discussing around the tools prop, and now we are discussing replacing too many tools with the single unified platform. So this one platform will have the complete observability where you can correlate all those different telemetries with ease of efficiency. Now, why it is important to have the single pane of glass? Because the single source of truth will help you to reduce all those different correlated alerts. And at the same time, it will help you to easily navigate to your root causes. Now, again, very important aspect is to have the correlation across your cross domain, right? It could be possible that you have your different servers. Servers would have hosted the different VMs. VMs could have hosted different containers or Kubernetes services, right? So once you have this different piece of entities merged and mapped within your hybrid infrastructure stack, it is very essential that you come to your root cause as soon and as fast as possible so that you will have the visibility across your full stack infrastructure. Now, when we say the complete visibility, it could span to your infrastructure monitoring, it could span to your network monitoring, application performance monitoring, log management, database monitoring, real user monitoring. So, any stack, any application at any scale in one view. So, this is where your unified observability gives you the complete picture because it maps your every piece of the infrastructure. Now, this helps to drastically reduce and cuts your resolution time, foster the collaboration across your different teams like network, server, application altogether. Now, once we have this complete visibility, let us discuss more towards that. What are those different pieces which helps me to achieve my end-to-end observability? Now, this is very essential, right? And we already, know how those, traditional monitoring tools operates and what kind of insights that we have. But when we are discussing about the observability, it is very essential to understand the four different modules of observability, which is very essential to come up with the unified view. So first, we will introducing to our end-to-end log monitoring and management module. And I am pleased to announce that Motadata is bringing very unique intelligent log pipeline within our on-prem offering. Now, what is log pipeline? This is your end-to-end streaming at the same time log management capability, which helps you to manage and see the visibility from ingestion to indexing. When we discuss about traditional log monitoring tool, the biggest question that arises that how much storage I will require. All logs are not very essential to me. Logs monitoring brings this so much of noise. How can I identify the signal out of it, right? And that's where metadata intelligent log pipeline comes into picture because it helps you to ingest the log from the diverse set of sources. Also, it's vendor agnostic, so you can use your own set of agents to collect those logs, forward it to metadata backend, configure your pipeline, configure your dynamic policy, and based on that, you will have the complete control into your end-to-end pipeline from ingestion to indexing. Apart from that, it will helps you to enrich your data. Now, this is very essential because if you are ingesting the logs from multiple diverse sources to come up with the correlation and down the line to send those data to your SIEM tools, it is very essential to add the additional metadata to have the end-to-end correlation within the events that you are ingesting. And that's where this entire pipeline comes in very handy, which helps you to have the individual level remappers, field extractors, and field translators to have the clear picture of your infrastructure. Now, when we say you will have the end-to-end visibility across the events that you are ingesting, it will help you to bring the calm to the log chaos. And this is very essential because it helps you to shrink your downtime and safeguard the compliance. Now, whenever you start discussing across the compliance, right, and to drive the contextual insight from the compliance tool that you have, it is very complex and you will require some sort of observability tool which helps you to give the out of box compliance based on the data that you are ingesting, right? So metadata will introduce the out of box log compliance so that you will have the end to end visibility as well as you are the compliance and audit ready with the help of our log pipeline capability. So this is very essential when we are discussing and having the context around the first module of observability. Coming to the second module, which is our application performance monitoring. Now, application performance monitoring is very essential. So when your application slows down or there is any glitch, right, there are higher chances that your end customer will leave your application. And the study shows that just 1 second of delay in page load can slash your conversion by 7%. And these are the massive numbers because if your application is your business, if your entire business is surrounded across the application, it is very essential to track the key performance KPIs of your application in near real time. And that's where this red matrix will helps you to identify that what are the response time your application. If your application is being deployed as a microservices or on a container and Kubernetes environment, how those different pieces are interconnected. Whether this tech could be the Java, .NET, Node, PHP, Python, right? And if those different microservices are interacting with each other, how you can effectively instrument those individual applications, how you can trace your end-to-end user journey towards the end set of database goals. At the same time, automatically identify those entities, whether it is your caching layer or a queuing layer, and this combining all these different pieces into this single bucket where brings the application performance monitoring. It is very essential that you don't have just visibility into those individual KPIs, but you should have the visibility across the end-to-end tracing as well as the different span that your applications are omitting. When it comes to the individual runtimes, it is very essential to correlate those respective error traces with the Java virtual machines metrics so that you can easily identify visibility into thread pools at the same time GC runs. Now, these are very different aspect of application performance monitoring. And by putting all these pieces together, you will have the end-to-end visibility from your traces to correlated logs, correlated host KPIs, as well as the runtime metrics. Now, when we say you are having this whole picture, this distributing traces, it's not just about your application health, it's about your business health. Because in a very starting, I have discussed that nowadays for many organizations, their application is their business. And to have the visibility into your business health, APM is the core module when it comes to the key pillars of observability. So once we have the full visibility across your application stack, your speed will bring the happiness to the end user, and happiness of end user will bring the more profit. And that's where this application performance monitoring will keep and stitch all those different pillars of your application. Now, coming to the third module, which is very near and dear to my heart, is the real user monitoring. Because application performance monitoring gives you the backend visibility, right? But when we say we are discussing about the business health, your business health is essentially correlated with your end users. And once you have your visibility towards your end user journey, how those end users are interacting with your application, how they traverse across your application. Is there any specific error that your end users are facing? What are those core web vitals? What are those end user experience metrics? If your end users are diverse and relocated across the different geographies, can I track the performance across the geographies? If my application is being tracked and viewed by different browsers, can I see that my application is not properly working into the specific browser? Can I have the JavaScript related alerts? And these all kind of answers can be achieved with the real user monitoring. So Motadata is coming up with this very innovative module, real user monitoring, where you will have the all-to-all full stack capability within the single unified offering with the infrastructure monitoring, application performance monitoring, log monitoring, and now with added of the real user monitoring. Because if you don't put yourself into your end user's shoes, you will not have that clear visibility that how those end-to-end KPIs, whether it is your uptime or any specific performance, are currently impacting your end user experience. And that's where capturing the live user sessions as well as at the same time capturing the live user interactions from different browsers and different geographies helps you to keep track and have the keep visibility into those respective understanding. You can have that answer that there are some sort of users which are residing in the Europe are experiencing 3 seconds of delay to your checkout page. At the same time, you will have that specific visibility that XYZ version of the browser where your critical buttons is constantly getting failed. And these insights are very essential because once this becomes your Twitter storm, right, or it has converted into the lost revenue, proactive identification of those issues will help you to safeguard your business. And at the same time, it will have that visibility into the end-to-end user journey. Now, you might be wondering here that I'm discussing about the logs, I'm discussing about the application performance monitoring, real user monitoring, right? But can we have the single unified blue star metric which helps me to have identify the real health of my business? The answer is yes. Motadata has introduced the SLOs into its unified observability platform. And we call it as a symphony of reliability because irrespective of your telemetry, whether it is your metric KPIs, whether it is your log events, whether it is your APM and ROM events, correlating those events and having the single business KPI is very essential because SLO helps you to track the promises that you make to your business and users. It helps you to have bringing those melody coherence to the observability orchestra. And this is very essential, right? Because when we say, are we able to deliver what promises that we have made? And once you have the single dashboard to answer that question, nothing like that. And you will definitely agree with me on that part that if we will have such kind of business tracking, there my SLO can help me to track that 99% of time my e-commerce checkout request will succeed within the 2 seconds. In if I'm able to provide this kind of analytics to my CXOs, this is the real proactive monitoring because now we are not discussing, we are not defining the lengthy root cause analysis pages. We are not discussing about the KB articles, but we are just discussing around the numbers. And those are the real numbers affected and measured by your end users so that you will have the real picture of your business. Now, when we say we will have that specific visibility, right, there are higher chances that we will be able to build the real trust between the different stakeholders. Those stakeholders could be our end users, it could be our business leaders, or it could be our internal business team. So with introduction of SLO, these are the very essential thing which helps us to track all those different KPIs. And there are numerous studies which can able to prove these specific scenarios Then once you have the SLOs in place, you can have the more focused approach towards your incident resolution. At the same time, you will be achieve your targets even in the pressures because this number says the reality. Now, if we will discuss and if we will see on a IT front, right? So many discussion we can see in the social media that IT is being seen as the cost center, or it is being considered as the keeping the light on kind of stuff. But once we will have the SLO in place, we will have a truthful reliability partner where IT will not just be seen as the keeping the light on, but it can be seen as the reliability partner to the business. It will really helps us to conduct the reliability and at the same time having the competitive edge. Now, these kind of discussions once we have with our customers, this brings the real insight and interest because here we are not discussing about the individuality of those technical jargons and KPIs, but here we are discussing about the real business health and combining all those four different modules that I have discussed over time. This will help us to have the cleared, unified observability tool that Motadata has envisioned. And not only this, Motadata is constantly focusing to enrich our offering to have the more value and outcome driven approach when it comes to the different offerings that we have. Now, once we will have this picture and once we will shifted our journey from more reactive to more proactive, from chaos to clarity, from monitoring to observability. Now, here comes very interesting question. Where does the future lies? Right. And we are not denying that specific fact that AI has started making the difference in the market. Though there are so many buzz, though there are so many skeptical questions are there in the people's mind, here we are trying to understand the real value that we can achieve with the help of AI. Because it's not something that AI is coming, AI has arrived, and we all needs to embrace this very politely. At the same time, we need to understand its real impact. We will not false or being trapped into the false commitments, but at the same time, we will genuinely focus on the real productivity gain that we can achieve with the help of AI. Now, till now, what we have discussed has helped us to lay the groundwork to have this something transformative. And the transformation will come once we will have the end-to-end autonomous IT operations, in which helps us to have the AI native item vision, where we will have the agentic AI in the operations. So if we go into the journey towards the future, right, majority of research says that by 2026, 60% of enterprises will start leveraging AI into their observability strategy. Also, there are high chances that by 2027, many organizations will start automating their wounded processes, and at the same time, those real value will be mapped with the reduction in the MTTR. Now, moment we say we are aligned with this market shift, right? We are not limiting just ourselves to generative AI, where you will have the chatbot kind of experience, ask those question queries, and system will reply to those respective queries in a more structured and formatted way. But at the same time, we are aligned ourselves to more self-healing system, right? We are aligned ourselves to more productive system. We are aligned ourselves to more agentic AI, where we are not saying that we are going to replace the humans. We will be going to have one productivity tool handed over to our IT admins so that they can do wonders in their individual roles. Think of it as like the autopilots in the plane, right? They can conduct your plane operations in the routine conditions. But pilot is very essential to oversee and handle the complex situation and keep his check on the all those autopilot activities is happening. So this agentic AI will help that specific benefit to the end user and with the help of humans, where they will supervise and handle the novel situations at the same time the strategic decisions and all kind of manual mundane work, whether executing those runbook, creating those runbooks and playbooks, documenting those in the incident management tool for the RCA purpose, dynamically optimizing my infrastructure, at the same time constantly evolving and aligning with the capacity planning and forecasting kind of stuff. There's where AI and specifically agentic AI will come very handy to the nature. So these will helps us to have the predictive analytics, automated change management, right? And at the same time, closed loop, but at the same time, supervised human observant agentic AI. So if we discussed and if we think on a holistic way, agentic AI is coming. And at the same time, we are leveraging and embracing this change for the better world of this specific domain so that we can have a more autonomous observability. We can have the more power given to our end IT technicians and we can focus more on the productive stuff which was previously killed by those activities. So if we discussed and reflect on our entire journey, right? Metadata is here to unify, simplify, and amplify. The moment we say unify, we are here to remove those blind spots with the introductory capabilities that I have highlighted. We will have the unified observability platform, which helps us to blind and identify those blind spots and bridge those gaps. At the same time, we will be able to cut through those mundane alerts, and at the same time, it will help us to optimize our operational cost. And not limiting to this unification will help you to achieve the unification across your teams, which are currently being firefighted across different headers and metrics based structures. But this unified platform will help you to have the unified visibility across your teams. When we say simplification, we are aligned to our vision of less noise, more signal powered by AI. And this will help us to have the cut through all those noise and simplification of those things rather than focusing on the individual alerts. Now, our focus should be more towards the business health. And once we will have this visibility into the unification and simplification, our more focus will be towards the amplification, where with the help of SLO, we will be have the close eye on the reliability and performance. We will have a close eye towards the team productivity. We can focus more towards the innovation and transformation. And as I have previously mentioned, we can focus more on the business outcomes rather than firefighting on the individual alerts. So these will help us to have the clear picture. And as I have promised earlier, with the introduction of unified observability, we can see it all, solve it faster, and scale with confidence. These are not just the words, but these are the real outcomes that we are aiming to achieve, right? And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty confident that all those who have joined today, right, with our joint efforts, we will definitely going to achieve this specific aim because Motadata is always committed to solve the real world problems. We are constantly putting our best to achieve all the things that we have committed. So, straight step, I would like that it would be very much straightforward, right? We would love to show this to you, right? We are open to your feedbacks and at the same time it is not something to hear about something, it is very essential. Once you see these in the action, we will have the real impact and the real feedback from your side. So I think if you are a hands-on person, right, you can always reach out to us, right, and explore this all stuff or at your own. And if you would like, we can definitely align yourself with our backend technical team, which will help you towards this unified observability journey from the chaos to clarity. Thank you so much. I think this session will be very informative for you guys. And now we can open for a Q&A session.
Okay, so if you have any questions, you can drop to Q&A box and we can address them now. So right now we don't have any questions. Thank you everyone for joining today's session and staying with us. If you have any additional query or would like, okay, so we have questions in the chat box. So let's address all the questions one by one. So our first question is, if you have a customer that has already made investment into other technology or solutions, can these technologies be integrated into Motadata to enable Motadata to remain the single view?
Now, this is very good question, right? Because if customer has made any set of existing investment, right? First, I would like to reach out to our business analyst to properly understand their specific use cases. And once we will have those specific use cases that how customer wants to achieve the metadata being the unified single view, yes, we can achieve such kind of use cases. So coming to the second question, what is the licensing model of this solution? Right. So licensing is pretty straightforward, right? You can reach out to our channel partners at the same time, our support and sales teams. They will definitely help you out when it comes to the licensing of different modules. So here, if I will discuss the details of the licensing, it will take much more time. But to give you the click glance, right, our total monitoring licensing is on the per monitor basis. APM and RAM licenses is per on individual services being instrumented. So there is no specific caps that other tools has like number of pages being viewed or how many traces are being generated. So this helps us to enhance your sales motion. At the same time, helps you to have the clear discussion when it comes to the sales and pre-sale cycle.
Okay, so
Next
another
question.
question,
Yes.
yes. Next question is, uh, this monitoring is agent-based or agentless?
So there are different parts, right? So when we discussed about the log monitoring, we can have the agent-based as well as the agent-less monitoring. APM, anyway, we will require the agent to inject those respective codes, right? And RUM, we will require the basic snippet to be ingested into your front-end applications, right? So this is just the another set of code which needs to be injected in your application. So this way I'm answering the top of the question as well, which is that is RUM being done through code injection, agents, or passive packet analysis? So it is being done through the code injection.
Okay, so another question is, Motadata SLO is based on a single metric at the moment. Most services have multiple KPIs that combined make up a service. Would there be a reporting capability to report against a service rather than the individual KPIs?
Yes, fantastic question, right? So when we will discuss about the overall service health, right, and when we discuss about the overall picture of your business health, right, Motadata is currently bringing the support for multiple KPIs, event-based KPIs, at the same time traces and drum event-based KPIs so that you can have the unified view across your business stack. So currently SLO is in the beta version of it, but once we will have the GA module, you will have all these end-to-end capabilities.
Okay, so the next question is, how will customers be able to engage the data from Motadata for AI or ML based analytics? Will Motadata make available a MCP server?
Yes, we will do. So once, as I have mentioned, we will have the agentic AI capability. We are focusing on the very essential, very sharply focused as well as the chosen use cases, which helps you to create the real impact, not having the just another chat interface, right? So once we will have all those agentic AI capability, we will have our own MCP servers as well so that you can connect with that specific server and extend those telemetry data as per your use case.
Okay, so the next question is, as it is mentioned as proactive anomaly detection, does it also read networking part like NDR or should I consider as cloud NDR?
So, when we say proactive anomaly detection, right, we are not limiting to any specific individual use cases, right? Whatever telemetry data that we are ingesting, we will have the proactive anomaly detection across all those set of KPIs, right? So even you can extend those capabilities with the another set of tools that you are currently being invested in, whether it is your SIEM and NDR tools. So you can always extend and use those capabilities based on your solution.
So next question is, any prerequisites that are needed to learn needed to learn metadata?
So it's a pretty handy and user-friendly tool, right? All those prerequisites and user guides are available within our website. So we will share those links with you guys. And once you will visit our docs.motadata.com, you will be able to identify and install and download our artifacts. At the same time, detailed step-by-step guides is already been provided so that I don't think there will be any hustle when if you want to do this entire journey walkthrough on your own.
Okay, then we have some of the questions in Q&A box as well now. So the first question is, can we perform real-time flow analysis? For example, if there's a suspected issue related to network flow, can we perform analysis or reactive alert in real time?
So flow analysis is very essential, right? And It's always comes with the predefined aggregation at the firewall as well as the source of data which currently ingesting, right? So anyway, some sort of data is already being aggregated by the end devices. Also, it is being already sampled by those end devices when it's once it is reach your monitoring solution. But once it's reach your monitoring solution, right, you can always minimize those respective ingestion to visualization time, right? And you can achieve the near real-time visualization based on your configuration as well as the environment.
Okay, some small questions are there as well. So how metadata secure the data and the application from the cyber attack?
So currently, Motadata is not in the cyber security or application security domain, right? We are more towards the end-to-end observability, right? So on a honest note, answering to your question, you cannot have the full-fledged application security with the observability tools. For that, you should look for the specialized application security tools. But yeah, if you are more towards the ingesting those events to metadata, correlating those events, and if those individual log events helps you to achieve your use cases, because many of the events as well as the security threats can be identified with the logs events that your application generating. Those kind of use cases we can always target.
Next question is, how Is Motadata deployed on premises or SaaS based?
So currently we have the on-prem offering, right? So we don't have any specific SaaS offering available. So if customer wants to deploy our application on the their public cloud, right? There is no challenge, right? You can always do based on your requirement and use cases, but managed SaaS is not available.
Okay. How is the licensing policy in Motadata based on?
Yeah, so is I think I have already answered that question. At the same time, once we will complete this session, right, the team will definitely share some sort of basic collaterals with you, where you will have the this detailed visibility into our licensing policy.
Okay, so now we have addressed most of the questions and it's time to wrap up the session. If you have any additional questions or would like the personalized walkthrough of the Motadata Unified Observability platform, our team would happy to connect with you. You will also receive the session recording and resources shortly after the webinar. On behalf of Motadata, thank you once again for your time and participation. We look forward to engaging with you in our upcoming webinars and initiatives. Have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so